Notable Live is your fast track to one-of-a-kind experiences with your favorite athletes, like race day with Emmett Smith and Jesse Awuji, game day with Eddie George, or fishing with Ray Lewis.
And we got a party going on over here.
So, rev up your fan experience with Notable Live, your direct connection to the athletes you love and the memories and memorabilia you crave.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Check out our latest events and auctions at notable.live.
I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. Yeah, you don't need 100 million like scores, 100 kids just for you to watch what I'm doing under the sun again. God-given gift, them seeds to win the running man. If you want me to get it poppin', may cost 100 pence. Yeah, what I supply is always in demand. The throne is mine, take that. And then a high five got the upper hand. I'm too real, can't fake that. Who you know put a fear in them like this? You a vampire, still suck when you bite this. Lord forgive me for my sins, I'm feeling righteous. But they've been next to me to show me I might just. They didn't think I could do it, I had to demonstrate how the flow is so heavenly, keeping demons straight. Who they fooling? I showed them the jig is up again. When I asked them who was the best, they get this to stuttering. Tell them I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. I can't lose, I won't lose. I can't lose, I won't lose. You may wanna save yourself. I think it's best you run away. I won't let you finish. Make it to the top with the same ones I came with. I shoot my shot, you better know that I'ma never miss. When they coming for me, yeah, I'm gonna tell them this. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. I'ma keep winning, winning. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play yourself. You can try to save yourself, but you wanna go play
Do you want to go from virtual to reality? Racing in the eRacing Association Omega Cup Series gives you that opportunity. We put on virtual events 4 times a year with $5,000 on the line every single time. 4,000 of that goes to the winner. And the top 5 now get an opportunity to go drive real-life race cars with the NASCAR racing experience at one of their 18 locations nationwide. Here's your chance to go from virtual to reality. Head to the link in our bio so that you can get registered with ERA now.
It's an experience, man.
Yes, it was. Hell yeah, that is real. That is real.
Experience NASCAR like never before. Take the wheel at NASCAR Racing Experience now.
All right, ERA members, thank you so much for being participants in our eRacing Association and competing in all of our events. We had a lot of participants' names on the car for this weekend here at Talladega. We want to thank every single member out there for having your speed pass and being a member of ERA and competing in all of our events. We look forward to hosting many more events on many more platforms, and it's going to be for you. Thank you so much for everything you do, ERA. Let's get racing.
Live from iRacing's virtual Nashville Super Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the 2025 eRacing Association Omega Cup Summer Bowl on RaceSpotTV and the iRacing Esports Network. And we are happy, as always, to be with you for another big money special event where, alongside myself, Evan Pasoko, joined by Justin Prince, and of course, Jesse Awuji with us as always. And Jesse, you're up to a lot of things, right? I was thinking about, like, what would I introduce you as we do these, and you could go as the NASCAR Xfinity Series driver, of course, your career in the United States Navy, but this ERA project that you have been a part of and have spearheaded since 2020 when we first started this continues to grow and grow. We say every time we do one of these broadcasts, there's money on the line, there's real stakes, there's big names. All that's true, but this may be just one of the biggest races we've had thus far.
Yeah, definitely one of the biggest races we've had thus far. So many participants jumping in, trying to compete their way into these races. Only 40 spots available for the main event, but so many more actually coming to try to do the heat races, get through that, then get to the main event practice day, and then try to get through that, qualify their way into the top 40. And we have a great group of drivers that are going to be driving today, a pretty stacked field. Drivers who come from pro esports backgrounds, drivers who come from Joe esports background, right? It's people who are just casual iRacers who are pretty decent at racing on the surface and competing their way into this. So it's going to be a pretty fun show. We've added a few extra cool elements to it as well. Everybody always knows that we give away big cash prizes with $5,000 on the line, but this time we're actually throwing something else in there as well. And now drivers who finish in the top 5 for this event get the opportunity to go do the NASCAR racing experience so they can drive real life race cars. We are taking people from virtual to reality.
That is what makes the stakes bigger here tonight, more than ever. Justin, you take a look at what's on the line tonight. 6 figures in cash prizes and awards have been handed out since this series started back in the end of 2020. And again, that continues with the $5,000. That is a big amount of money for a single one-off sim race. I don't want to undersell that because, for a driver, from Jesse's point, who may come in from the Joe background of things, want to compete in these regularly, could they shock the world, beat some of the top NASCAR drivers in the field? They've got a chance at that, but that NASCAR experience is truly unique. The opportunity to drive a NASCAR race car, as well as some ride-along opportunities, that sweetens this pot. I don't think it needed any sweetening, but I think that's the icing on top for sure.
I think it's a good icing on top, absolutely, because you can never beat the opportunity to be able to drive a real-world race car, just the thrill of it and what you feel when you're in the machine, to be able to zip around the racetrack, to feel how much the G's hit you in terms of force. But these drivers will have to go through Nashville Super Speedway here tonight to be able to get that opportunity, be able to get a chance at the top 5. This concrete 1.33 mile facility where it's going to be important to save tires here, Evan, for this race. But better yet, it's going to be tricky to control your pace at a racetrack like this here in Tennessee.
Yeah, I found it a little bit hard to believe that we had yet to do one of these Omega Cup events here at the Nashville Super Speedway. Jesse, we have gone to the city of Nashville. Of course, the Super Speedway a little bit out of downtown, but you got to look way back on the first ever Winter Bowl. That was December 16th, 2020, where it all started. Was the last time we were in Nashville. That race was won by Parker Retzlaff on the short track at the fairgrounds. So a bit of a full circle moment, if you will, as we get our first live look in as these drivers are qualifying.
Yeah, that was such an amazing race. And even at the end, he had that little bit of a bumper run to go ahead and take that victory. And funny enough, I believe last year he had another win in our series with another bump and run to go take the win. So, yes, a lot of great drivers won these races, whether they're folks who have come from the eNASCAR background, folks who have just come off the street, who are just good at iRacing. There are a lot of different people. But today, we're at a track that we have not done before. And it's a track that's not easy at all. It's a little bit tricky. You go to a lot of 1.5 mile tracks and you have decent amount of banking to help you out. This track doesn't have as much as some of those other tracks that we've been to. I mean, we just, coming off of Daytona earlier this year, you have 30 plus degrees of banking. You're running Super Speedway. You got the draft helping you. Even though the Nashville Super Speedway, even though it's called Super Speedway, it's not really a Super Speedway. It's really a short track. It's not even an intermediate track in my book. It's a big short track. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. It's going to put on some interesting racing. We'll see how it goes. We'll see how patient people are, and see who can make it to the end.
A sister track to Dover in the fact that a concrete surface pretty unique in the NASCAR ranks these days, especially for a racetrack of this size. Qualifying drawing to a close. We talked about how, as always, for these Omega Cup races, drivers have to attempt to qualify to get into the Wednesday night show through the qualifying races that take place on Monday. Looked like we had 44 drivers take to single car qualifying here in this session, and then because of that, only the bottom 4 do not advance. So the top 40 from single car qualifying are going to make the show, which means it looks like Zach Miller, DeAndre Kane, Larry McDonald, and James Buchholz. A tip of the hat to those drivers for making it through the qualifying earlier in this week, but those will be the 4 drivers based on time that will not advance into the feature race here today. The margin on that, 12 1/1000ths of a second from the last time in to the last time out, and maybe the last moments before we get ready, Justin, for some of these drivers to take a deep breath.
Yeah, a chance for them to get themselves all in position and ready to go, because it's going to be important to stay focused in a race like this here at Nashville Super Speedway. It's going to be important to make sure you know where your marks are going to be once you go racing. It's also going to be important you know the limitations. It's so easy here at a track like this to go too hard early on and have the mindset of, I'm going to fly to the front. Well, you'll pay for that after lap 20 in a race like this. Tonight, it's going to be about that management as these drivers manage their minds and get themselves all sorted. Many of these drivers taking time to catch up on things before they get in the cockpit and into the car.
Is Zelensky a familiar face, Jesse, for you, driver for the ERA Esports team in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series? He's won one of these races. That was back at Road America in the summer of 22. So Bobby hoping to use tonight as a chance, maybe a quick R&D session for him, because he'll be racing in the Coke Series at this very racetrack in a week's time.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely the eNASCAR Series drivers are going to be using this as an opportunity to train, using it as an opportunity to compete against some of their own, to kind of see what their technique and strategies are in this race. Obviously, we're not always running the same amount of laps as the eNASCAR Coke Series, but it's still a good chance to go against your competition. Just see what you can do against them. See how they react to some of the things that you're doing. Yes, there's a lot on the line today. In fact, I mean, there's more on the line money wise today than there is in the one race coming up here in the future that they're going to be doing. So it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out between them and everybody else who's on the track as well. But Bobby Zielinski, Michael Cozy Jr., great drivers on our ERA esports team. We already have a victory with the team, which is awesome, and some other great finishes and some victories in some other series we're running as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how they do. You know, obviously I got to be impartial, I got to be fair, and you know, try not to hype them up too much. But you know, those are my guys, so we'll see how they do.
Yeah, I think the pressure's on them to pull through for you. This is like a home race for them inside and race it under the ERA banner. They certainly want to do good tonight, and we'll have chances as the night goes on to talk about all the different things that ERA is getting involved in, not only in the eNASCAR Coke Series, but one of the 12 teams competing in the Esports World Cup. We see the ERA colors on a couple of NASCAR Xfinity Series cars on a week-by-week basis, so many exciting things happening around the eRacing Association. We'll be able to talk more about that as this race goes on. There's another one of your pro-level drivers in Jordy Lopez. The one difference for these pros, Justin, than when they're normally competing in the Coke Series, fixed setups for these events. That's the big twist for them.
So you're going to have to tailor your speed and how you drive the track, not to your preferences of setup, to what the setup is going to provide to you on the racetrack. And we know that these types of setups normally tend to swing towards the tighter side. So it's going to be about making sure you don't chew up that right front tire here, I think, for these pro drivers. They do have some experience that from a while ago. Remember the All-Star race a couple of years ago, we've had fixed sets of the Coke Series for one of the tracks here. So there is some experience in that situation for these drivers, but it's still going to be a challenge for these competitors to make sure they don't chew up that equipment with these fixed sets.
And this race length at 100 laps in distance as we get ready to go tonight, an interesting one as well, because you can't just go crazy, burn the tires off early in the run, but also it is not a marathon. There's a little bit of elements of short and long run speed that are going to be necessary as, again, we get to continue cycling through the field to look at a lot of the cool sim rigs that the drivers in the field are rocking. And Fernando sees that he's on camera. They're also Esports Ford is ready to go. One of the 40 qualifiers who is in the race here this afternoon. The drivers just enjoying the final couple of minutes of a warm-up session again after that knockout qualifying before they actually get set to get going. Cody Harris is your defending race winner from the Spring Bowl on the high banks of Daytona back in February. And Jesse, to your point, you mentioned, I mean, it is called Nashville Super Speedway, but it does not race anything like what Cody Harris would have found success on in Daytona last time out.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a lot different this one. This one is going to take even more skill behind the wheel to be able to manage your tires, manage the car, manage the traffic, manage everything. I mean, who knows, depending on, you know, how close everybody is on the field, and if people are making mistakes, you know, what if there's some lap traffic that they got to deal with as well. When you're racing on a super speedway, typically you don't have to deal with that unless somebody, you know, lost a draft because of a damage issue or something like that. But a lot of times you're not dealing with that. Now that we come to a track like this, now that it's even shorter than a mile and a half, I mean, you might run into some of that lap traffic. So, you know, depending on how long we go greens, who knows how they're going to manage that. So there's a lot of different things you got to think about. Even if we go on the longer greens, you know, what's your tire strategy? You're going to come in, you're going to pit at what lap, you know, fuel, this and that. There's so many things to think about. And that's why we do our best to try to not give away information as far as what track we're running and the amount of laps and things like that until we get very, very close to the event, so that people aren't practicing for months leading up to the event on that track so they can strategize. They got only a very short period of time to figure that out.
It's one of the things that these drivers have the benefit on in the sim, to your point. If they get tipped off on where they're going to be racing, unlike a real-world test, you can just jump on the sim and put in as many hours as you want testing. And I trust that a lot of the top-level pro drivers do those very things in their respective series. Here is the 5-minute warm-up session getting underway. Justin, again, by this point, they've already gone through, obviously, some opportunities to practice. They qualified to get to tonight through the qualifying races on Monday. So I don't really think in these final 5 minutes there is much for them to learn. I think it's just kind of shaking the nerves off, if there are any, and kind of mentally thinking through what your strategy is going to be based on how your qualifying result went.
It's more so as well about making sure you have no issues with your sim rig, you have no issues in terms of anything technical wise, just going through your safety checks, as I like to call it, when it comes to this. So it's just interesting to see where things shake up, and all of these drivers are also testing out to make sure where they may prepare things from the short run for what should be a stacked field. After all, much of the field having eNASCAR experience one way or another, or working with eNASCAR organizations, it is stacked this time out here for the summertime.
Well, as these drivers go through the warm-up session, let's try to dial up one of the drivers who's going to be fighting for the race win here in this race. Cody Harris found a victory lane in Daytona Beach the last time out. That was the Spring Bowl race back on February the 5th. Let's see if we can get Cody dialed up now in the Discord channel. Cody, I'll give you a sec to unmute your mic. There you go. You got us?
Yeah, I gotcha.
Well, hey, how's it going? Daytona winner, couple of months removed. Are we still riding the high and going to carry that momentum here into tonight?
Yeah, I hope so. That was pretty cool to win it back in February. I was obviously in the right spot at the right time on the track, kind of when the season started there, but have a decent starting spot. Got a lot of stiff competition here, so I think it'll be pretty hard to repeat, but I guess you never know, and at least we're in it to have a shot to win again.
When you do a race like this, it is a recurring event. We do 4 every year, but there is no, season-long points or anything to follow through. Does that affect how you approach a race like this? Do you feel like, hey, those prizes are heavily weighted to the top 5? I might value risking it, especially you mentioned, the competition is so steep. Do you risk it? Do you take chances? Do you make moves to go for wins in a series like this that maybe you wouldn't do in a 30-week-long series?
Yeah, especially with strategy, depending on when cautions fall, you might try something staying out, taking 2, taking 4 when a lot of people don't, so you can cycle, just depends on how the race is playing out. But yeah, definitely make some moves, or maybe sit back here and save my tires to start and see if anyone burns their tires off and then try and make passes. But yeah, I think not having the season-long points, you can just kind of don't have to think about that and do whatever it takes to try and finish up front.
And of course, at Nashville Superspeedway, a unique intermediate racetrack falling in between the mile tracks and the 1.5 miles, but the concrete surface, super unique in this space. What are your thoughts on Nashville? You mentioned a decent starting spot. You guys qualify in the number 12 position, so it seems like it fits your driving style to an extent.
Yeah, I enjoy the concrete tracks on here, kind of the more flat-natured tracks. I tend to do decent at those, but yeah, it's still, I think it'll be hard to pass, but I think there is a couple of lanes as the tires wear to be able to make moves. And then you've really just got to watch the bump in 3 and 4 and not get too high up there.
Well, we're looking forward to 100 laps on the concrete here this afternoon. Cody, we appreciate your time. Best of luck on going for the repeat. Maybe we'll talk to you later.
That sounds good. Thank you guys for putting this on.
It's a race winner from February earlier this year in Daytona. Well, the warm-up session is drawing into its final moments. We are about ready to say let's go racing here in Nashville. So to get things underway, we head into opening ceremonies. It starts with the performance of our national anthem, as always, with Amendalyn Awuji.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof
you're in the race today. Drivers, start your engines.
And with that, we're ready to go. So while Jesse makes his way back up to the booth from the pit lane with the command, Justin, let's take a look at your ERA starting grid. And pole position tonight goes to Jimmy Mullis in the number 29 Chevrolet. He's bringing us to the green flag next to Vicente Salas, who starts in second. Row number 2, we'll see Connor Urashak at Garrett Maines with Bobby Zelensky and Jordy Lopez, your top 6.
7th spot goes to Sean Conklin, a winner before in ERA competition. Andre Castro starts alongside. Colin Keister will start in 9th position. Colin Bowden, a Braden's RFK machine from the top 10. Michael Cozy Jr. hoping the alarms are kept off here tonight. Start 11th alongside Cody Harris.
Malik Ray gets lucky number 13. He's next to Michael Guest with Ryan Doucette through your top 15. Chris Watts, Aaron Ramon, Adam Garza, the top 18.
19th going to Jacob Smetana. Then it's Alex Thurber, Jacob Mazik, and Christopher Heights, along with Brennan Lyman, along with Aaron Mack in the top 24.
Rest of the starting grid will cycle through your screen, but we are ready to get underway, and it is top-level talent on the front rows. Pace car down to the safety of the pit lane. Jimmy Mullis is in control. Let's go racing in Nashville. Three wide already on the opening lap of this race. To the inside for the lead. The challenge is coming from Connor Urashak.
Already near bump and run situations a couple times over. Maine starting to push the issue, though. Already making it clear. Want to establish the bottom, be able to establish momentum, try and get some clean air early on. Already a bit of contact pushing Maine's back.
Yeah, Jesse, they are real aggressive early. They know they've got to take advantage of the initial start of this race. Drivers going to the apron and 3 wide on the first lap and a half.
I'm loving what I'm seeing here. This is actually one of the tracks that we've been to now on our ERA events that I actually haven't raced in real life. So it's very interesting for me to watch how this whole thing plays out. Usually, most of the tracks I've been to, so I can talk from experience, hey, I've ran at this track in real life. This is what I feel. This is what happens. Here's how the race will play out. But this one is different. So it's almost like I'm a fan just sitting there watching like, wow, this is pretty cool. They're going 4 wide on this short track here.
Andre Castro's in the middle of it all right now, leaning on the left rear quarter panel and getting Zelensky in front of him just a little bit loose. That time off of 4. They get a bit better of a run on the outside of the racetrack, but not a huge run compared to the cars on the inside of the racetrack. You heard Cody Harris giving some of his thoughts on maybe why he does or does not like this Nashville Super Speedway. And at 14 degrees of banking, Justin, that's pretty light on the banking for a racetrack of this size.
And it means a lot of off-throttle time, letting the car roll to be able to stick to make sure you don't chew up those tires, and better yet, to make sure you don't sail off on corner exit. One of the major things to keep an eye on when you have some of the side-by-side too here, Evan, is going to be drivers trying to take air off the spoiler of their competitors, make them be unstable off corner exit. Seen a little bit of that on Jordy Lopez's car that forced him to reset as some of these other drivers regroup.
You're looking at Sean Conklin in the 54. He's under the 34 of Andre Castro into the outside wall. That thing got a little bit tail happy off of 4. Kissed it, lost a little bit of speed. Could have been a lot worse, though. He continues on. Outside of this battle, though, everybody else for this moment in time trying to get single filed out, trying to get some laps behind them and get a bit of a pace going. On board with Colin Keister, bit of a smirk. He's single file in line. He is right on the bumper of the car in front of him of Conklin.
Just settled on in at this point, all around the bottom of the racetrack. This is a bottom feeding circuit. You go higher up, yeah, you might be able to do something for a couple moments, but you end up destroying your tires, Evan, as the night progresses. So you have to keep as much as you can towards that yellow line around the racetrack to the corners to make sure you have that long run stability you need.
And that, I think, is the number one thing, Jesse. You were talking about the pros and the Joes that separates somebody like me from somebody who can qualify for this race, and that's tire saving. I can maybe, if I put the time in, get an okay lap somewhere, but I just cannot master the tire saving. And Cody Harris mentioned it when I was talking to him, the fact that he's hoping he can conserve a little bit early. Some drivers may burn their tires up. That means they'll be slower later in the run. When he has more tires available, he'll be faster and can then catch up. One of the many parallels between real-world racing and what we see here on the sim.
And iRacing does a really good job of making that parallel actually very realistic. If you start beating up that right front or even beating up that right rear, depending on how that setup is for the car, because, you know, driving in, if you keep over driving it, you're going to kill the right front. Driving off the corner on exit, if you keep just romping on that throttle, you're going to kill that right rear. So, you know, iRacing does a really good job of simulating what it's like in real life, and you don't get your tires back. It's not like you can make mistakes and be like, oh, it's all right. Like the tire will come back. It doesn't. Like every bit of tire you leave on the track gets left on the track. It doesn't come back to your tire. So that's it. You kill it, you're done. So you really got to be careful. You really got to watch it, and you got to feel it. It is very difficult to master. It takes a lot of experience. It takes a lot of laps. I mean, you got to go lap after lap after lap to understand every input that I give the car. This is what it's going to do to the tire. This is what it's going to do to how the car is going to feel throughout the run. And the more and more laps you do over and over and over, the more mistakes you make over and over and over, you learn from that, and you know the goods and you know the bads. It takes time, and just like anything else that you try to master in life, it takes time. And you know, they talk about 10,000 hours to master anything. There's a lot of folks in this in this group right here who have probably 10,000 hours worth of sim time. Who've been doing this whole thing for many, many years.
It is a very strong weight to the top of the field right now with the like of Urashak, Molis, Main, Salas, Zelensky, and Lopez, top 6 drivers, only NASCAR talent. And then you get Andre Castro, Sean Conklin. Those are names that we have seen before in these ERA events. Make it known that they are here to play. And the KC Designs 34 of Andre Castro in a great spot right now. He is up 1 spot from the start of the race. That's really all I'm seeing up front is maybe 2 spots here, 1 spot there. Not a lot of big movement inside of the top 10, Justin. You drop out of the top 10 to catch a little bit of side-by-side. That's Aaron Ramon and Alex Thurber doing battle for P16.
Yeah, some of these drivers starting to make some inroads right now. You mentioned Ramon up +1, Thurber up +3. You also talk about someone like Garza on screen that we've seen run a fair bit in official races, now at a Ford for this running with a different organization. So far has been able to pick up 4 spots. And he's amongst the drivers that have not had a chance at the eNASCAR Coca level yet. That, I think, has the ability to do so. Tonight, though, so far, just making sure he can make measured improvements as the run goes on, to not destroy the tires, and make sure he's got some long run speed in his car to be able to maybe pounce on some of those who might have overexerted their speed to keep up front.
Seems pretty calm, though. Behind the wheel, some drivers are very animated, right? You can tell if they're frustrated, if they're feeling good. Adam's pretty calm. It's still early on, only 14 laps in. I'm not seeing the lean. You see a bit of a deep breath there, shaking his head. Maybe wants a little bit more out of that car, but composure also critical here on the sim. You're not going to get that same physical workout that you would in a real car, Jesse, but mental-wise, these drivers have to be sharp. You have to limit distractions. You got to take it serious if you expect to be competitive against the level of talent we see in these Omega Cup events. Is looking to the inside on Conklin. Keister trying to get below him.
You know what? So as I think about it, I was just back in an Xfinity car just a few weeks ago racing at Talladega Super Speedway, and it was very interesting. It had been a little bit since I had driven, and I got to kind of, in a way, be new to it again and re-feel all these feelings that drivers have when they're driving. The heat aspect of it, you know, in the car, it's well over 100 degrees inside the race car. The G-forces, you know, all the mental side of it, thinking and trying to understand what the car is doing at each part of the run. All this stuff is coming to you at once, and it's a mental exercise, it's a physical exercise. But even on the sim, most people think it's just a mental exercise, but it's actually more. Most of these drivers have very upgraded equipment with them where they have real force feedback. Unless they turn it completely off, hopefully they don't. I like to keep my force feedback on because I like to make it feel realistic. But with the force feedback on, you are having to wheel that car. I mean, there's a bit of force that you are fighting against. You're feeling the vibrations through it to understand what's happening with your tires and the car and everything. There's a lot that you're going through, and then you got that computer which is trying to crank out as much energy as possible to be able to handle the graphics and 40 drivers on track on a beautiful track with all these amazing sceneries that the iRacing and the effort that iRacing put into this. Your computer is working hard and it's creating heat. All these folks, they're not doing this in a nice cold environment. They're in a room, strapped in there. They got their door closed. It's getting hot in that room. They're going to start sweating here a little bit. So you are actually getting the physical workout now in these sims. Like, times have changed.
I mean, a lot of drivers, I won't say a lot, but there's a segment of them you talk about how many upgrades can you get to, right? I've seen a couple of those full motion rigs, which I don't think a lot of the pro level drivers have, but I've seen those, and those will kind of whip you around as the car slides, especially if you're doing off-road racing on the Sims. So you're right. I mean, without that ability to feel the car physically underneath you in the real world, that force feedback where the wheel reacts to what's happening to the car, what's happening on track, is one way that these drivers can get some insights into the car that they wouldn't otherwise have. We're watching this battle for the lead. It has continued on for a few laps. Jimmy Mullis, who started this race on pole, Justin, slides back into the number 3 spot. It's still eRacing up front, but the instigator right now is Garrett Maines. Made a pass for second, and I think that blue Toyota up the road wants more.
I think so, especially with the fact he's getting good runs by Corner Apex, almost having to check up with eRacing, but he also threw in the mix Mullis. The reason he even lost the second spot, had a bit of contact with eRacing trying to go. How about a little bit of contact with Maines? He was there on the quarter panel, and it's so difficult to get a good corner exit if you have chewed up your tires here. If you start pushing tight, it can cause problems for that corner exit. Mullis seems to have good momentum. The problem is, just can't get the corner off with side-by-sides like he's now having to deal with in these battles.
Trying to use the outside line to his advantage. He's going to get the run on the number 29 on the inside of the racetrack. So through and into third goes Vicente Salas. He's got the ERA colors on the front of that Toyota Camry, but maybe not done yet. The 29 of Mullis, looking right back down to the bottom, is not going to make this easy on him. Clean through the opening 22 laps completed in this race. Bit of a gap starting to grow in the midfield. Your top 15 or so pulling away for the rest of the field. And look at these two leaning on each other off of 2. Big moment there between a handful of drivers who are getting aggressive. Colin Bowden's got a front row seat to it as Keister and Conklin fight in turn 4.
Man, these battles are getting a little bit serious now. It's really cool to just watch up and down the field to see who's in this field. Like we mentioned before, there are a bunch of eNASCAR drivers in it, but then there's a lot of folks who aren't as well. But one interesting, pair that I'm watching here, Andre Castro, right? He came from running open wheel cars, some sports car stuff. Not a ton of experience doing all that, but the experience he did have did really well. And then jumped into the NASCAR Xfinity Series and has run some races there on some road courses and has done well. And then, you have the other, oh my gosh, as I'm speaking about him, he gets turned. Oh my goodness.
It's the commentator's curse, but what a save for Andre. The caution will come out at 1/4 distance in this race. I thought that thing for sure, Jesse, was coming to back up the hill, and we were going to see a big mess. And we'll get a second look at it in a moment, but you talk about some of the real-world experience there. What a catch for Andre to make that one not as bad as it could have been.
Wow. I mean, I maybe because I was talking about him, maybe the fellow got upset and was like, you know what? I'm going to be the talk of the show now. Let me turn him. I don't know. But, oh, my goodness, that was crazy. I mean, I was just about to say, I'm seeing Andre Castro here. We're seeing, Michael Cussy Jr., Bobby Zielinski. They're running all next to each other. People that had driven for, our ERA esports team, and also Andre, who has driven for our real NASCAR team at Jesse Wuji Motorsports. It's really cool to see these folks here. But, man, Andre just got turned. I guess that's racing.
Yeah, there's the second look. They just kind of got compacted to the outside, but here's the save And I mentioned the top 15 or so were pulling away. Well, that's the gap. So certainly there's a touch of luck, Justin, that he comes back up in that big gap that was starting to grow. But a lot of drivers might have spun that down pit road or gone all the way back up and into the outside wall. So Andre deserves some credit for the save, as it looks like everybody's coming to pit road.
Yeah, absolute credit to be able to lock it down, be able to make sure it didn't slide up into the outside wall, in particular with that cut to the right. He also got lucky with the gap, I will say, that had built up between the two packs to be able to make that save in the first place. But a chance to get some fresh Goodyear Eagles on your car here. Unlimited tire sets here in this race here tonight. We'll see if these drivers are able to execute quickly in the pit stop.
It is everybody down pit road. So we talked about tire wear. They must all feel that after 26 laps complete, they want some fresh tires, but there is some strategy gambles in the pit lane. Connor Urashak enters as the leader, but he will exit third. He takes 4 tires, Jesse. Everybody, with the exception of 1 or 2 here or there behind him, also take 4, but Malik Ray and Colin Bowden only going to put 2 tires on their cars. That gives them instant track position as they jump to P1 and 2.
Man, that's a gutsy call right there, but maybe it's something they've been practicing. I mean, you have an opportunity in practice to try out these different strategies, right? You get into practice, you have about an hour. Okay, let me see if we get on the run and we all have to come down, what am I going to do? Maybe they practice it. Maybe they know something that everybody else doesn't. Everybody did the normal traditional thing, 4 tires and fuel. They were like, I think I'm going to be all right with 2 tires. It's a very short track type of strategy. I've seen it before on other races where people just put on those the right sides and just get that little bit of extra grip because maybe their lefts aren't wearing like that. Maybe with the way they're driving their cars, their lefts are actually staying pretty solid. Who knows? Only they would know. They can look at what's going on with their tire wear and they understand that, hey, I think I'm all right if I just throw on these rights and I'm good to go. So they made that call. We'll see if it works out. It's either going to work or it's not. And if it doesn't, you're going to see them fall back pretty quick or get wrecked by someone.
And if they do fall back, Justin, if the 2 tires can't maintain pace with the 4, it might make this restart very interesting as all those other cars try to get by.
I think absolutely here. This is a gamble where you're hoping for track position, then enter a caution a little while down the line, because long run wise, these cars might fall off a significant bit in terms of pace by at least a few tenths of a second a lap, and that can be costly overall where they migrate back to where they were. But remember, it's a +9 and a +11 for Bowden and for Ray as a result of this call. If they can make it stick and then a caution around 20-30 laps from now, we'll see if anyone else tries the same gamble later, but they can get some net advantage if they get a caution later.
First restart of the day going to come as 28 laps of 100 to fall to the wayside. Colin Bowden and Malik Ray, 2 tires on row number 1. Green flag back in the air. It's a decent start for both cars on row 1, but Connor Urashak is on the case, on the bumper. Bowden into turn number 1, likely going to get more bite with the 4 tires off the corner. Can he chase down Bowden up front right now? The answer, no.
Just playing the lines at this point right now, Bowden just trying to get the arc down. Urashak having the fresher tires on the left side at least. And as Jesse said, left sides may not wear as much depending on the racetrack. It depends circuit to circuit, right? And for the most part, it's a gamble when you try it, but it could be a very versatile one that can make you looser in terms of your short run to be able to get that balance down. Ray looking a little bit loose right now, that battle for second.
Circuit to circuit, driver to driver. With a race like this and it's a fixed setup, everybody has the same setup, so it's not a setup thing, right? The setups aren't going to really affect your tires different than other people, but with this track and how it's changing, what line you're running, if a driver chooses to run that outside lane every single time, his tires are going to wear differently than whoever chooses to run that bottom lane every single time. It's just, there's so many different factors that can wear out tires. How deep you're driving, how aggressive you want to be, how aggressive you're back on throttle, how much brake you're using, if you're using any brake, are you light, there's so many different things. And then, even with the fixed setups, you can adjust your brake bias as well. That's going to affect it as well. So there's so many different factors that can affect how the tires are being worn, and that's what's going to affect how people are making the decisions on what tires to get, what tires not to get. It's just a lot that goes into it. That's why when people watch this, it's not just cars going around in circles. There is real strategy, real thought, real skill, real everything when it comes to this. I mean, the only thing that's not real is when you get in the wreck, at least you can actually walk away from it unhurt.
It costs a lot less, too, to wreck one of these virtual cars than if you did it in the real world. But we're seeing that strategy in play with the decision up front to go for the 2 tires versus almost everybody else on the 4. The brake bias that Jesse mentions there, Justin, one of the very few things you can adjust in a fixed setup race. How much of the percentage of your braking do you want to be in the front of the car or the rear of the car? That could be a track-by-track thing, also a driver-by-driver thing, much like some of the other strategy methods. But Maines right now doing everything he can to find a way by Malik Ray. He's trying the outside, but struggling to get a hold up there. Malik lost a touch of speed getting onto the apron, though, and that's going to allow him to pull up alongside. And look at all of this. Zelensky, Guest, Lopez at Bohr, back at P8. It is a hornet's nest.
Yeah, absolutely. These drivers just trying to sort themselves out and get themselves clear, get as much track position as they can. Very curious about some of the drivers that are in the heart of some of these battles. In particular, can they get that drive off they're looking for? You can get a decent amount of it off of turn 4 in battles like this, but it's so difficult to be able to clear with this type of racetrack. It's one of those circuits you need to strategize on how you make the pass so you don't destroy your Goodyear Eagles, to be able to make a move, just like Moas just did, to be able to line up behind Vicente Salwas amongst his top 5.
And with his move into the number 2 spot for Maines, now a chance to set his sights on the race leader. We're on board with Connor Urashak in the number 23 car, single file in front of him as he looks to the back bumper of the next driver up the road. That one is the one of Malik Ray. So these top 6 trying to pull a little bit of a gap. Everybody pretty much running an identical line at the moment as you head down in turns 3 to 4. Again, everybody down to just about maybe a couple of feet off of the yellow line. There are some racetracks that we've seen in these Omega Cup races where some drivers are going to go way to the outside, some are going to go to the bottom. A lot of those kind of tracks, Progressive banking a big story in that. Jesse, I know you mentioned this Nashville Super Speedway, one of the tracks that you haven't done in the real world that we're racing here in an Omega Cup race. It seems to me that we're not seeing, at least early in this race, drivers fanning out. Seems like they all know where the speed is.
Exactly. They all kind of figure out what the speed is when they're practicing and trying to figure it out. I mean, within the last few weeks, they all knew that, hey, we're going to run Nashville, right? So they're all, trying different things, working around different things, not fully set up. They're not fully sure what the setup was actually going to be, but, they're just trying to figure out exactly, trying to figure out through their practices, like how things are going to play out. Sometimes they get into these group practices, they work on it from there, they try all different sorts of things. But yeah, I mean, it's once you get in here with all these other drivers and things start changing, whatever your strategy was originally, it becomes different. When you're racing at different tracks that have the variable banking, that's different than a track that doesn't, because the track that does have variable banking, that allows you to go run the top side and go run the wall. When a track doesn't, there's no point of running the wall because the banking is the same everywhere on the track. So you might as well run the shortest line possible, which is what these guys are trying to do. They're all trying to fight for the bottom, get down to the bottom, and get off the corner on the shortest lane possible.
There's Dylan Alt's onboard perspective as he sits in the number 11 spot. He's got one of the big stock car style wheels. The one thing I always look for, Justin, when we get the onboards is what kind of wheel are they running? Because unlike in the real world where you wouldn't see a Formula style wheel in a NASCAR stock car, in the sim you do whatever you want. So there are some drivers who run open wheel styled wheels in their rigs no matter what they're driving on the sim. So it's one of the things that I like to pay attention to is, again, that's all up to the driver. So when we take away your ability to make your own setup, you find whatever else you can do to make yourself comfortable. Not comfortable, though, this battle back here. I think that 8 car got a bit of the fence that time off of turn 4 in the midfield.
Yeah, car's a little bit of a scrape wearing one of his league paints that he runs with Murphy Esports, believe, here tonight. But to get to that conversation, as Garza makes the move and some of the side-by-side builds up, we've seen drivers like Bobby Zelensky in eNASCAR competition run with an open wheel rig rim. And that's just down to preference. Remember, that's where a lot of his background is when it comes to the iRacing pro scene over the years, running in Porsche and a couple other series. But up front, Main's got the run. He's looking to try and make the poke side by side.
Hasn't been an easy charge, but eventually, on the fresh tires, Garrett Maines is putting in work, and with a big swing on the inside, clear for the lead, but for how long? Bowden saw it coming, crosses back over to the inside, and as quick as he got it, does the 6 car steal it right back. Big run topside. Maines now gets slid as Bowden tried to come up and shut the door. They made contact in the corner, together again off the exit, and has it open things up now for Salas to sneak through on the inside.
Trying to push him up on the arc, trying to push Bowden up out of the groove. Bowden getting very slippery at this point, and that was my concern about this call. Eventually, these tires would start to see you slide around too much, and everyone's taking advantage. Salas, some good arcs to push that 6 up the racetrack.
And 3 wide behind them in a battle for third on back between Malik Ray and Moore. They're nearly wrecked as they come off of the corner. Battle for the race lead still raging on. Salas on the 4, Bowden on the 2. Bowden thinking about the same crossover on Salas as he was able to do on Maines. That one doesn't stick as well. And somehow, through all of that, it's Vicente Salas, who's the first driver to break through at the front of the field. He's your new leader. We're far from done, though. I think Yurashak's smoking the tires. He is so loose off the exit of turn 2.
Oh, that's gonna hurt those tires. It's so fun to watch this and see, even on a track like this that's not fully 1.5 miles, a little bit shorter than that, but bigger than your normal short tracks, to see how close the racing is. I mean, I can see why they probably call it super speedway, because it is somewhat of almost a pack racing type of deal. There's a lot of action happening from the front all the way to the back. I mean, a lot of 2 wide, 3 wide happening consistently. It's not a follow the leader type race like you see at 1.5 miles and some of those other tracks. So this is very, very interesting to see how this race is playing out and how the battles just don't stop. Like, nobody can get comfortable at any moment.
All of this is going to be interesting to say at the very least, though. The rest of this pack, how they break things out here in terms of this rhythm, in terms of trying to get around drivers like Ray, because Ray, remember, also going to be slipping back here in the midst of this. Jimmy Mullis got bullied around a little bit. That pushed him back in the order. So some of the frustration is starting to build a little bit, where if you lose that bottom of the racetrack, you're going to be very, very tight. From what I'm seeing right now, you're tight on the bottom, where these cars just want to push up and suction cup into the wall at a full right now, Evan.
Yeah, you saw Mullis, as you were talking about it right there, start to push up and basically lean on the door of Yurashak, and a bit of a nervous driver would be that man you're on the board with right now, Jordi Lopez, because he's got Mullis leaning on his quarter panel, a glance in the side view mirror there as he clears the 27 machine off at the corner, and Jordi Lopez getting to back up and into the conversation in the BS competition Chevrolet. He wants to get up to the likes of Mullis, Yurashak, and more. Again, it is a who's who of top sim racing talent battling inside of the top 10 right now in this race at Nashville. More smoke. That must have been the 8 car. Is he going to wreck it? Sideways again. That was Adam Garza, who got way, way sideways. He caught that car after getting a bump off of the nose of Colin Keister, but he saves it.
Incredible slide, incredible save, and now Keister's over the track and sliding.
Oh, no.
Again with Castro, second time tonight.
Wow. Oh, God.
And again, the caution will fly, Jesse, but maybe they get away with one that could have been worse. I mean, they're hooked together on the exit at turn 4. Listen, the ball field, if you want to call it that, the grass in the tribal here at Nashville is huge compared to some tracks, but again, Keister goes through the grass at high speed. I thought for sure something was going to happen to that car, but he's able to reel it in and keep on going. So second incident in the night that results in a car that spins out but isn't destroyed.
Yeah, they got pretty fortunate that one. I mean, that was pretty crazy. It could have ended up really bad, not only for them, but for some other people around them. But everybody, for the most part, is still pretty good. I mean, it's just probably a couple folks need to come down pit road and get some new tires. But besides that, I think everybody else should be pretty solid. But man, that was interesting.
Yeah, this run actually almost right on the money, Justin, with the length of the first run we had in this race before the yellow flag came out. So almost everybody wanted 4 tires. Last time, the 2 tires did not work bad at all. Colin Bowden and Malik Gray made that call. They're still second and fourth, so there's the second look at the replay. The 25 squeezed into the fence and spins, but a good recovery. So like we saw last time, everybody's going to be coming to pit road. And with how good the 2 tires worked relatively, wonder if we have any more takers on that strategy.
Want to be surprised about somebody taking an advantage to get track position. And the gamble worked out perfectly for Bounded In for Ray to be able to get that. Dylan Owen also, who had been stuck in traffic, gained 20-something spots from the call originally, also did so. I will say with that last incident, looked like air taken off the spoiler there of Keister that caused him to snap up the racetrack into the wall. And that's the tough thing when you're hating on that rear end. You will see that there's the roll of the dice to be able to keep up front, as this should get the drivers good to go on fuel.
Yeah, a lot of 2 tires. That is the dominant decision this time. Curious if the fact that Malik and company have now gone for 2 tires 2 times, right? Does that set them back a little bit further? He went for rights again, so he's still working on his left side tires from the very beginning of the race, Jesse, but it's very clear that the rest of the drivers took note. They saw, listen, it wasn't a move that went out there and won Malik Ray and called about in the race on that, run of this race. I mean, it's not a walk-off, but it allowed them to gain some track position. It worked well for them. And because of that, Jesse, clearly the rest of the field took notice, because 2 tires worked for 2 cars, and basically everybody inside of the top 11 decided to replicate it.
That's racing for you right there. Everybody's a copycat. One person does something that works, everybody else is going to do it. It's very interesting that they knew it first and others didn't, especially with the amount of experience that people have in this field. So to see that strategy work and everybody else now, copy it. I mean, it worked. All you need is for it to work for you at least once when it didn't work for everybody else, and it gives you that advantage. But now everybody's on the same page, so we'll see how it works out for everybody. Maybe they'll change it up the next time around. Maybe they know something else that we don't know.
We're past halfway, and now racing down towards the end of this. Justin, you mentioned now inside of the range where if this race were to go green, we would be able to go the scheduled distance with the fuel on board. These races, though, have had some memorable moments over the years. I don't think this one is quite as simple as it's done with this restart, but you never know, and that's where it gets tricky as these drivers. Do you get a little bit more aggressive? Are they going to bank on the fact, hey, we've had basically 2 runs of 25 laps each? Are they going to push a little bit more, anticipating a yellow? Or do you want to make your tires last for the 47 laps that are left in this race, hoping it stays green and hoping you've got the best race car when it is all said and done? A pace car down and away. Vicente Salas this time, the control car on the inside, as we are back underway at 47 laps to go.
I'm expecting Maines to be aggressive right for the onset. He's been amongst the drivers that's wanted to get that lead so many times here tonight, but just hasn't been able to fully close up the deal. Oh, trouble off turn 2.
Malik Ray spins, caution flag flies. Now more cars spinning on the back straightaway. Somebody else, it's Alex Thurber, who is off and into the grass. He got hit after the yellow flag flew as drivers started checking up on the back straightaways, so it gets a little sloppy. And my first thought was Malik Gray hasn't changed left side tires in 50 laps. Was that the cause, Jesse? Well, the answer is no. He had some help. Here's the replay right there. That was the 29 of Mullis behind him. Gets him in the left rear quarter panel. That is the most vulnerable spot to get hit in one of these cars.
Oh, yeah. It's a terrible spot to get hit at all, period, on any oval track. But I'm just wondering, yes, 29 did get into him on that left rear, but was it because maybe Malik didn't have the run he needed coming off the corner from center off? Maybe because of his choice in tires, the strategy, maybe it just, set him back a little bit. And maybe, Mullis was just doing whatever he needed to do, just continue to drive forward, and somebody just happened to be there. Who knows?
And they're discussing it in the sim, and actually Malik letting Mullis know after he apologized, not your fault. So Malik basically putting that one on himself, Justin. Jimmy obviously has slightly better tires in that situation, had a run on the bottom. And, well, yes, your insurance company will tell you if you hit the car in front of you, it's your fault. In racing, it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And Malik saying, hey, I probably... that was probably in my lap, if you will. Looked like the one was trying to get down in front of the 29 where the speed was, and maybe that move just happened a little bit late.
Yeah, arcing on down like that, it's so difficult to do so, to make sure you get that done without accidentally coming across somebody's nose. In that case, it looked like he started arcing it down in that situation. The tough thing is about everybody else in that situation, though, where it was an accordion effect where Mullis was giving him the opportunity to actually save the car, but the problem is no one else, or most people at least, didn't have the chance to be able to respond in time, and that caused all the calamity and the caution flag down the back straightaway. A lot of drivers, especially Castro, going to be dealing with damage. Yeah, Brennan Lyman, who was a innocent bystander. Dylan Old is amongst the drivers now out of the race, so a lot of solid cars ended up being taken as casualties as a result of that situation.
Yeah, really the first time an incident on track has damaged a couple of cars. We've seen them bouncing off of the wall a lot, but we've gotten pretty fortunate on the yellows. And Jesse, we'll see those cars get into the outside wall as they come off of 4. I know it's not Darlington, but I think about the Darlington stripe. I mean, there's a limit, right? You can get away with a couple of wall taps on exit, but you don't want to hit it too hard or you could do some damage to the toe on these cars.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, if you knock the toe out of your car, it's going to affect your handling a lot. And for those who don't know, toe is part of your alignments, right? You have different things like toe, camber, caster, you name it. But yeah, you knock the toe out of it, the car is just not going to turn the way you want. You're going to be driving down the straight and it's going to be doing funky things. It's just all bad. And then also, too, the other thing is you don't really want to be tapping the wall a lot because then you'll get incident points. So for those who've never been on the service or those who have been on the service, you know, in iRacing, there's this safety rating, right? And if you continue to hit people or spin out or hit walls, tap walls, whatever, and do things that potentially could be unsafe, you get docked points. Well, these points, you only have a certain limit before the service actually boots you out for the race. So for the folks, you know, racing in this race, you know, the incident limit, I believe, is around 18. So you get up to that 18 point, you get past that, then you're out of the race.
Extra incentive for these drivers to keep it clean and make it to the distance. Another restart as we're back underway. 43 laps to go this time by, and an even better restart than the last one for Vicente Salas. Connor Urashak inside of the top 5, trying to make the inside line work, but the 11 up front clear for the race lead to the 2 to 3 car lengths. Challenge for second is right in front of Connor. To the inside of Maines goes Colin Bowden.
Good crossover to be able to get back alongside. Maines tried to push the 6 up the racetrack by going deeper to the corner. But Bowden, yet again, did not play into the hand of Maines. Just took it on right, gives it the arc right on back to be able to clear right back. Why not?
A couple times we've seen the 6 car do that and get clear on the inside to pull up in line, and now 3 wide for third. Through the center of all of that, here comes Jordi Lopez, and on the bottom, Urashak tries to go for the double slide job, can't get in front of Maines, who stays up top, and somehow Jordi Lopez, the driver who stays in front in that battle for third, through all of that, Jesse. 40 to go next time by. It is clear these drivers, if they've been holding anything back, are not doing so any longer.
The gloves are off. I mean, you could just throw a blanket on any of these drivers. Any of them could get to the front. Any of them potentially win this race. I mean, you don't know. I mean, there's some races you're watching, you're like, yeah, you know, maybe these 1 or 2 or 3 drivers, you know, they've got the best shot. They're probably going to win. On this, I don't know. I mean, somebody even who's sitting 10th right now could still find a way to make their way up front over these next 39 laps and win this race. I mean, this is very close-knit, close-packed type racing here on this big short track. This is really fun to watch. I did not realize that this race is going to play out like this, and I'm enjoying everything that I'm seeing.
It's been a good one so far, and the best is yet to come as we've got thousands of dollars on the line, some invites to the NASCAR racing experience, all of that for the drivers who can finish in the top 5 in about 39 laps time. So Far from the end of this one, but there is a lot of fast cars in contention. We've seen 4 different drivers lead laps in this race so far today. No more than eRacing, who's led 25. Salas has led 19. Bowden led 16. And Jimmy Mullis has led 1. But it is Salas top of the board right now. He is ahead of all of this chaos, but a half a second advantage for the driver in P1.
Managing things very well from the jump on his tires. We'll say Yoshak not really saving right now. If you've noticed the line, he's trying to poke to the outside. He's trying to take some deeper cuts inside, let the car go deeper on the braking marks. It's pretty clear that Letard Esports machine not wanting to conserve any longer, going to take the risk of falling back on the long run to make up positions, hoping for that caution. As you said, these drivers right now have only had about a 1/10 of a second of fall off net throughout this run too, so it is difficult to make up ground so far in the very early going. Conklin, the first on 4 tires, has done a decent job making some of these passes, though, we'll say. Just letting the spots come to him as they've tried to make some attempts. Just ride the bottom. Don't slip the ball too much. Make sure you get good corner exit.
Going aboard there with Jimmy Mullis as he is calm, cool, collected in the number 7 spot right now. Of the drivers who run inside of the top 10 currently, 9 of them started this race inside of the top 10. Sometimes we'll see cars from way back in the pack, Jesse, when we start talking about 2 tires versus 4 tires. You'll see drivers make big gains, big losses. That hasn't been the case tonight. I'd probably chalk that up to the fact that the timing of the yellows have been, at a point where everybody's pretty much agreed that, hey, we're all going to pit no matter what. So there hasn't been any huge moments, but the cars who have been fast all night are still fast as we start to get late in this thing.
Yeah, they're definitely fast. I mean, there's a lot of folks who are really showing what the guy is, showing their skill, showing some of that talent that they've been practicing over and over and over to try to be good on the surface. I mean, it's just so much fun to watch how people are attacking this track and what they're doing to attack it, even when maybe what they want to do isn't fully there, right? When you see someone being able to kind of run the perfect, like I would say, qualifying line in a race where you're able to be on the outside up the front stretch, get down to the bottom through the corners, get back to the outside, all that. That's not easy to do, but that's what you prefer to do, right? But then to watch people still be fast when maybe someone else is taking away that line, taking away their preferred racing line, and still watch someone be fast around the outside. For me, that's super cool to just watch them manipulate the car and do what they have to do to just maintain speed and lap time over and over and over.
And Justin, one of the elements of strategy to keep a half eye on here, I think, would be Colin Keister. He is the first driver in the running order on 4 tires. Everybody behind him pretty much also took 4 the last time down pit road, but he restarted back in 16th position, so he is making up time. I mean, that's nearly plus 7 spots, in fact, since the restart. So P9, long way to go, but Keister has showed a little bit of promise. He is 1.8 seconds back, though, from that man right there who continues to lead this race in Salas.
Yeah, I think it's going to require the race going green for drivers like Keister and Conklin to make up some ground. Now, the thing is, will they be able to make all the passes without chewing up their tires? That's an easier said than done thing. You see in the backdrop right now, Keister making the run on Mullis, for example. So some of these drivers are starting to try and find clean air that have that grip differential, that have that little pace on the 4 tires. It's going to require it going the distance, though, Evan, for them to have a true chance to be able to make up some of this ground as some of these drivers on 2 tires start to see a bit more pace fall off compared to those who may have the 4 tires that have the extra bit of left side grip that keeps them a little bit more stable compared to the looser conditions with the cars in front of them.
70 laps down, 30 laps to go at iRacing's Nashville Super Speedway. You're watching the eRacing Association Omega Cup Summerbowl here on the iRacing Esports Network. Vicente Salas has now led more laps than anybody else, eclipsing Yurashak's mark as he'll lead his 29th lap of the race, this time by also the biggest gap for the race lead we've seen, Jesse, at any point. All the previous runs, it got out a little bit, but I don't know if we've seen anybody nearly only a full second to the lead, but that's what the 11's working with right now up front.
Yeah, pretty big gap, and maybe because everybody's kind of calmed down. But I mean, even with now like a little less than 30 laps to go, I mean, these tires are going to continue to wear. Someone's going to make a mistake. Someone's going to get into somebody, because everywhere on the track there is some sort of battle happening. Somebody's catching up to someone. Someone's about to get on the inside or the outside of someone. So there will be some contact at some point. I mean, we're even watching a few cars right here, really, really close, battling it out. Something's going to happen. So we're all going to get brought back together, even though the leader is kind of taking off on everybody. We're all going to get back together at some point. I do not see this thing going the distance with no more cautions. And when everybody comes back together, we're going to get some tires, and they are going to shoot it out. And that is when this is going to get very, very fun.
We almost had our moment right there. I think that was the Michael Guest machine, the white and gold 21, who got way loose or tight. I think he had a little bit of help on the exit of turn number 2, slid way up the hill, and it allowed that man right there, Sean Conklin, to gain a spot on him, and Sean wants more. He's basically in a 3-car draft down the backstretch. He, Urashak, and Keister were pushing one another down the back straightaway, and now the 54's got a bit of a run this time on exit. Does he go anywhere on Urashak? Looking high, didn't go to the apron. He'll stay in line for the moment. Looks like the 54 wants to try to get topside.
Yeah, he wants to keep up with Keister at the moment on the strategy. Right now seems lockstep with the 15 on screen in terms of movement, 31 on pylon. But it's also going to be down to trying to fake out some of these droppers. That's what Keister did in your situation mentioned with Guest, where he almost pushed the cars in front. Keister didn't get a good corner exit, though. And that's going to be the main thing if they want a chance for the race to lead. Execution has to be perfect the rest of the way. And Conklin just continues to try and search for clean air for the front nose. It's just been a challenge to be able to get that run the higher he goes up.
And as we're inside of the final 25 now, these drivers get to experience the worst tires that they have at any point in this race. We did have a yellow in this stint. That's going to conserve a bit of the life, but they are now going to be driving on the same set of tires longer than they have at any other point in this race. So you try to make an educated guess on how the tires are going to continue to fall off based on what they did earlier, but it's a bit of uncharted territory. So if you've been saving something for the long run, this may be your last best chance at a long green flag run to try to do something with it. Can they rise to the moment? Conklin, somebody else who has been in this conversation all night long, has he saved enough to get around Urashak and Keister, or are those drivers pretty much at pace with one another as they run right now? Battles all throughout the field. There's one up closer to the front for third as well, so battles all over the place, but not for the number 1 spot. You're not missing anything up in P1. Vicente Salas still cruising at an 0.8 of a second lead.
Just controlling things as time goes on right now as this race makes its way through the final stretches. Some of these drivers, though, starting to find some good rhythm to get some separation here. Lopez seems to be in a good spot. Zelensky's improved as the night's gone on, though, here, Evan. He didn't start as great as I may have expected because he had good starting position, but fell back a little bit from the get-go. He's been, since then, one of those drivers that's been getting stronger through the long run. Right now, his average just about on par with the leader, the 3rd fastest car on the racetrack, just trying to find its way around Maines, who's been losing ground as of late over the past 5.
And Garrett Main's going to get a shot there as Bobby Zelensky looked low, looked high, and then gave a punt to the back bumper of that car in front of him. Maybe a little bit of frustration for Bobby Zelensky, who wants to complete this pass. I mentioned some of the different wheels you'll see. That's not a stock car wheel that he's working with at home, but Bobby, a multi-type of racing talented driver on the iRacing service, does far more than just NASCAR racing, but keeps that open wheel styled wheel in his sim rig no matter what he drives, and that includes here in the stock cars. He is somebody who is not afraid afraid of being aggressive. I could say that very same thing, though, about the man in front of him. Garrett Maines is not the easiest pass in sim racing. I don't know if he's the Ryan Newman of drivers who have competed in the Coke Series, but he's a guy, Jesse, who just is not going to give you an easy pass. And some drivers have different styles, right? Some of them, if the car behind him's quicker, they'll let them go. They'll play the long game. They'll think, all right, you take the spot now because I'm conserving my tires. I'm running a pace that I like. And if I catch you later, I'll get you later. Other drivers, like Garrett Maines, they don't care what position it's for. They don't care what the strategy is. They're going to race you hard for every single spot. And we've got a show right here in the battle for P4.
It is definitely a show, and yeah, they're gonna battle it out. I mean, we're getting down to less than 20 laps to go. I mean, it is go time because who knows what's gonna happen? Maybe there's a caution that comes up, maybe there isn't. I mean, I love sitting there watching Bobby at this. But it's very interesting to run this type of steering wheel on the oval tracks. I've tried to do it before, and it just feels weird for whatever reason because I feel like you need a circular steering wheel to be able to, maneuver the car the way you want, catch the car if you get in the slide, whatever. But some drivers just get used to whatever they're driving with, and they just like it, and they make it work. Bobby obviously is making it work. He's a phenomenal driver on iRacing. He's done really well. He's won races, even, won a race for the ERA esports team. So people find a way to figure out. But as I was sitting there watching him, I couldn't tell, was he downshifting and upshifting at this track? Because if so, that's pretty interesting, and definitely another way to try to maximize your speed when you're on the track.
It's a new era with these Gen 7 Cup Series cars, Justin, an added gear compared to what we saw with the Gen 6 car, and shifting has been a hot topic, but if it makes it faster, these drivers are going to do it whenever they have the opportunity.
Yeah, because here's the thing. If you just keep it planted in fifth gear around this racetrack in most cases, Evan, guess what? You're going to burn the right front tire off because you're in the wrong gear, and you end up falling back very quickly. That's why it's so important to shift with this car, because it maximizes the momentum and the rotation. You can then get in this car in general. Maines getting in a crossover battle with Eurojack, meanwhile, keeps on going back and forth with the Canadian.
They continue to swap positions, but all this is going to do in the long run is if either of these drivers want to win this race, you got to settle this battle, because as they fight aggressively for the difference of a P5 and a P6, it's only dropping them further and further back on the timesheet. More than 3 seconds these cars are removed from Vicente Salas up front, whose lead continues to grow, now at a race high 1.3 seconds over Colin Bowden. I don't want to say that it's Salas's to lose at this point. We have a long way to go, Jesse, but I feel if somebody had saved something special in these tires to make a late push, we'd be seeing signs of that by now.
Yeah, I mean, if we don't get another caution, the Sensei just might sail off to a win. I just don't know if anyone's going to catch him. As I watched the lead grow and grow and grow, it was less than a second a little while ago. Now, and then it went to 1.3, now it's 1.5. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if anyone has anything, unless the Sensei makes a mistake, which, people make mistakes in the lead. They'll be leading and they're good, they're comfortable, and all of a sudden they make a wrong move and then the lead closes up. So I don't know. I mean, if there isn't a caution, I think he takes the win. If there is a caution, who knows what's going to happen. But as you look through the field, it's very interesting to kind of see the diverse group of drivers that we have here. We have drivers, obviously, NASCAR is big here in the U.S., so most of these drivers are here stationed in the U.S., but we actually have, a driver here, maybe more than one, but for sure one driver who's actually from the Czech Republic, who's racing at like 3 a.m. right now in his home country and racing in this race. So it's really cool to see drivers from not just the U.S., but from around the entire world, the globe. I think we have even another driver in South America, Bruno, who is racing in this race too as well. So, people from around the world racing in the ERA Omega Cup Series, competing for the $5,000 prize pool, competing to try to be in the top 5 so that they can get a real-life racing experience in the NASCAR racing experience at one of the 18 locations around the country. That's what we're giving away. That's what these people have the opportunity to go get and win if they just get out there, do their best, and finish in that top 5.
In both of the Smetanas, Peter and Jacob from the Central Eastern European Club on iRacing. These events are so good for that reason. It doesn't matter what kind of rig you've got at home, where you live in the world, if you have real-world racing experience or not. This is the great equalizer, and it all comes down to who is the fastest driver on any given night. If they are able to pull something out here, and if this thing gets wonky late, they might have to worry about some extra logistics to get over here and do the NASCAR racing experience. But I think that would be an okay headache to deal with, in order to get such a cool opportunity and such a cool prize. But we are inside now of 9 laps to go in this race. I know Vicente Salas just put down a 30.5, Justin, but I'm willing to bet as he gets closer and closer to the checker, these laps are starting to feel a lot longer. He continues to pull away. He's going to be soon 2 seconds ahead of Jordi Lopez. So what he's worried about now is the non-controllables, right? The incidents and the issues elsewhere in the field that he feels like could screw this up for him.
Yeah, you don't want a caution, obviously, because here's the thing. The race starts. We've seen bump and runs come into play here in Nashville in the past. That could absolutely open a whole can of worms for a crazy finish here at the Super Speedway. But the thing's going to be about making sure also, I think, for Vicente's case, making sure you get through the traffic efficiently. Seen it with some of the drivers that are popping up around the circuit from Bownden's viewpoint, for example. They are starting to get traffic that's starting to play a factor a little bit in a couple of these battles if they reach some wrong way. Most drivers have been cordial moving towards the apron, have noticed, but all it takes is one driver to keep on the racing surface, feet or the air to you. That can cost you a significant amount of time here on this racetrack. For the most part, this race has played out in the hands of the eNASCAR drivers in particular. Long run, establishing a pace, making sure that raw speed keeps in. Don't fall below that 1 second fall off band. If you're below that mark, usually means you've cooked your tires a little bit too much pushing. The farther off on the fall off, the more harder you push in those first 20 laps. It's going exactly to the window of what we're talking about. Past 20 laps, making sure you have the raw speed to be able to perform, to stay up here and be able to finish up front.
And as it's calm up front, couple of battles continue to be aggressive. So is this one that we have not been able to look away from in quite some time. Michael Cozy Jr., the leader of that pack, the number 34. Garrett Maines in the middle in the number 1. And Jimmy Mullis, tail end of it all, the number 8 spot for your pole sitter. He sits there. These 3 cars have had no more than a full car length between them really at any point since the restart about 30 laps ago to this point. Mullis now, with limited opportunities, wants to try it again, wanting to get under Garrett Maines, but even though there's not a huge benefit to the banking up top, that one was able to carry more speed through the corner. They've got a lap traffic, though, in front of them. Is that going to be a factor? The 34 gets into the traffic there. Close call.
That's exactly what it's talking about in some cases. Traffic management. If traffic doesn't move out of the way, it can spark things up. There were a lot of calls over the radio in that sequence because of that. Let's just say that. But this has opened up the door for Mullis for the checkup effect to try something outside at least, but it's still that preferred group at the bottom that's still coming into play, and Mullis is still dealing with rear end damage from that last caution.
A nice slide up there, Jesse, consistently for the cars on the bottom. You can't be faster on the bottom all the way around, but you saw the move there for Maines. He knew he was slower on exit, so he pulled right up in front of the 29 and basically forced Jimmy to push him off the corner and take that spot away.
These must be the longest last few laps of a race ever for Vicente. He's just hoping and hoping, please, no cautions. Everybody just hold it together when we get it to the end. I mean, less than 2 laps to go. And he's just praying. I know he is. He's sitting there, come on, let's get this thing over with. Man, everybody's on the edge of their seat wondering what's going to happen because battles continue to happen all over the track.
And next time by, if they get around to the white flag, it's going to be a big sigh of relief, Justin. That means this race is official. Salas has got 2 corners till he gets to that point.
Just has to hope there's no one that has a spark of a spin, but he's had dominating pace coming to the white flag this time by. He's made appearances as of late in the NASCAR Xfinity Series at Rockingham. As most recently, he's been able to perform here in ERA competition in the past, and tonight he's been the long run king to add to all those checks in the backdrop.
He has been dominant, and he came into tonight already as the winningest driver in the history of the ERA Omega Cup. He's going to add to that tally with race win number 4. Checkered flag in the air, and it is Salas, winner at Nashville in the Summerbowl.
Man, that is awesome. The most winningest driver in the ERA Omega Cup Series. How does that sound? That is so cool. I'm very happy for Sensei Salas, a driver who's been racing in all different kind of series in esports online and has made his way from the virtual world to the reality, right? He's racing in the NASCAR Xfinity Series. He's raced in the NASCAR Truck Series. He's raced late model stock cars. He's done it all. And I mean, what a story right there. You know, a kid who just had a big goal, had a big dream in life to race and started off on iRacing, has won all these ERA events, and now has made his way to the real world and is racing in real life. I mean, you just couldn't script it any better than this. What a race. What a win. Great job by the Sensei Salas.
It's a familiar place, and that is burnouts on the front stretch. It all started at COTA back in 2021 when he went back-to-back with a Summer Bowl win there and then the Fall Bowl victory at Bristol. But recently it's been the intermediate tracks, a 2023 Summer Bowl winner in Charlotte, and the Summer Bowl luck continues. It's his 3rd win in this annual summer event, and this time it comes at the Nashville Superspeedway. Big congratulations to Vicente Salas. Let's take a look at your ERA full race results tonight from Nashville, as those top 5 drivers going to be walking away in the money and with some exciting NASCAR racing experiences coming up for them. Salas, the final margin of victory, 1.6 seconds. I think he kind of buffered that gap and took advantage of it late in this one. Jordy Lopez comes home P2. Bobby Zelensky's in 3rd. Colin Bowden in 4th. And Michael Cozy Jr., representing the ERA Esports team, sneaks into the payout spots in P5. We'll try to get a word with some of those top finishers in a few. Garrett Maines, Jimmy Mullis, Connor Urashak, John Hagan, and Michael Guest round out your top 10. How about Hagan? 27 positions gained, Justin. He sneaks into a good top 10.
Not bad at all from him. Sean Conklin fell back to 11th at the end. Colin Keister to 12th position. Cody Harris stayed in the top 15 just about the entire night. Not bad for the Daytona winner. Chris Wetz and Ryan Doucette amongst the top 15. Malik Ray slipped back to 16th after his initial caution period. Then you have Tana in 17. Jacob in this position. Adam Garza in 18th. Noah Rainwater and Andre Castro comes back from damage repairs to finish in the top 20.
He finishes just ahead of Brian Ewald, who comes home in 21st, with Kenneth Oberlin 22nd, Brendan Lyman 23rd, Peter Smetana in 24th, and Christopher Heights in the number 25 spot. Aaron Mack with the U.S. Army Esports team is 26th, Jacob Mazak 27th, J.D. Larson in the number 28 spot, Aaron Ramon 29th, and Howard Strother Jr. brings you to P30.
John Anderson finishes off 31st with Jake Balmain in 32nd. Fernando Takahashi finishing off in the top 33. Cole Larson 34th, a lap down. However, Randall Peasley went from the back of the field to 35th. Bruno Castro Alves 1 lap down. Also, Alex Thurber was involved in one of the stack-ups for an incident, finishing 37th. Raul Alves 38th. Vicente Guerrero, a DNF, along with Dylan last in the field.
So look top to bottom at your ERA full race results. We'll take a quick opportunity to step aside, get a word from some of our partners who have made tonight's coverage possible. And when we come back, we'll talk with your top finishers. Vicente Salas is on his way to victory lane.
It's an experience, man.
Yes, it was. Hell yeah, that is real. That is real.
Experience NASCAR like never before. Take the wheel at NASCAR Racing Experience now.
All right, ERA members, thank you so much for being participants in our eRacing Association and competing in all of our events. We had a lot of participants' names on the car for this weekend here at Talladega. We want to thank every single member out there for having your speed pass and being a member of ERA and competing in all of our events. We look forward to hosting many more events on many more platforms, and it's going to be for you. Thank you so much for everything you do, ERA. Let's get racing.
And back live from iRacing's Nashville Super Speedway as RaceSpotTV's coverage of the eRacing Association Omega Cup Summer Bowl from Lebanon, Tennessee rolls on here on the iRacing Esports Network. And Jesse, I'm going to hand things off to you because our race winner is with us now, and you've got a 4th race winner check that you're going to be sending his way. Vicente's your winner here in Nashville.
The Sensei, man, you're taking everyone out to dinner tonight. How did that feel? I mean, you were out there on those last, how many ever laps you had led. I mean, I'm sure those last few ones felt like the longest laps in the world. What was that feeling going on in your head when you had 10 to go, 5 to go, and you're just wondering, man, what's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was just praying that the race would stay green. I mean, that was the biggest thing. And I heard a few times on the radio, guys were yelling, throw it, yellow. And I was like, please don't do that. So, yeah, I mean, I'm super grateful to come home with the win tonight. I actually went to church tonight. I got out of there at like 7:30, 7:45, came straight here and ran this race. So, honestly, was just praying that it'd be clean, we'd have fun, and whatever's meant to be would be. So, I'm super grateful that we were able to bring home the win tonight and have a good run.
Well, the good Lord was on your side because you are a winner. Now you are the most winningest driver in the ERA Omega Cup Series. What to have like an accomplishment like that, to have an accolade like that, what does something like that mean to you?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to describe. I started running these back in 2021, I guess essentially almost 5 years ago now. So, I mean, you guys have helped me so much with my career, making connections and just meeting people and, being on a big stage with these races. So, this league, these races have been such a huge blessing, and I'm honored to, represent ERAs on the car here, Micro Center, everyone from Kanan Esports, Miramar Financial, Alpha Prime Racing, the shirt I'm wearing, Bill McNally, just everybody that gives me opportunities to drive race cars, real or virtual. I'm just really, really thankful.
And you're one of those drivers who have actually taken their skills from virtual to reality. Like, how did that even come about for you? And what does it mean to be able to, have this big goal and dream to go off and race in real life and to start, virtually, but now find a way into the reality? Like, what does something like that mean? Like, dreams come true, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's something I've always wanted to do. As a kid, I grew up watching the TV, and I didn't really watch many movies or TV shows, but I always watched NASCAR, Formula One, IndyCar, just anything I could watch racing-wise. So, I started racing go-karts, didn't really have the opportunity to jump to NASCAR, so I started racing the NASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, as well as the ERA races. And, those two leagues and races have taken me to where I am today. So, I mean, it's definitely, no pun intended, saying it wouldn't be virtual to reality if it wasn't for the virtual first.
That's so awesome. And then you've been absolutely crushing it. You're winning races. You're doing amazing. And hopefully we see you in victory lane one day in real life and just let this whole story come full circle, man. You're an awesome person. You're killing it on the service here. Thank you so much for competing in our events, being part of them. And man, good job, most winningest driver.
Thank you, guys. God is good. I appreciate it.
To race winner here in Nashville. Again, it's a familiar place for Mr. Vicente Salas. He might need to rearrange the room a little bit there. I saw the other ERA check, and again, he's got another one coming towards him here as our race winner. A lot of the drivers in this race, Jesse, I saw in that look at the Xfinity car, Declan, during that quick commercial break there. That kind of ties in with what we always talk about for these events, and that's the ERA community as a whole, right? Yes, we have the opportunity to cover these Omega Cup events here on the iRacing Esports Network, but there are more races than just that. There's a large community behind that, and I know recently all of that has kind of transitioned over to the new platform and a new way to engage with all of the members using C3. So wanted to give you a chance to, if somebody just happened to stumble upon it. It feels weird for Vicente to say it's been 5 years, but this Omega Cup is well established by now. But if somehow somebody is maybe joining us for the first time, they think this is interesting, they want to get involved, how they can maybe end up on track next time we do this.
When we first started this back at the end of 2020, the whole goal was just to create an awesome experience for people to feel like a pro, right? We know that, getting into real life racing is very difficult. It's very expensive. It's tough. It's not easy to do. But if we can create some type of opportunity where people are racing in these virtual races that feel real, racing in a race that's broadcasted on the iRacing platform and on YouTube and Facebook, you name it, Twitch, you name it, we're all over the place. They're getting this broadcast experience, they're getting this viewership, they're getting all these great things that you would get as a pro, and then also you're getting an opportunity to win some money. That's what pros do, right? They win money. So to put it all together and then also now have the opportunity to go drive real life race cars, if you can finish in the top 5 and go be part of the NASCAR racing experience, just coupling all that together has been something that for us has been amazing to watch and really cool to provide that to these folks. But now, we have this new platform that we've put ERA on, which is Channel 3, which is helping us really optimize how we build the community with ERA. Before, when we were just doing everything just straight through our website, which obviously we still have a website, but it was just, we didn't really have a community that we were really truly building. We had members, we had people, but it wasn't a community. Now the focus is, let's build a community. Let's really bring everyone together, continue to grow our membership, grow the amount of people that compete in these events, and continue to grow what we give back to them. The more people we have competing, the more opportunity that we have to actually give back to these folks so they can really, really maximize their bang for the buck for being part of ERA. So for the folks who are competing in these events, thank you so much. For those who will come in the future, thank you so much. But hopefully we can continue to build this out, build this community on Channel 3, and figure out a way to make this bigger and better. Hopefully one day we can give away $100,000. We'll see.
We've hit that number over the course of the full series history of this Omega Cup. And again, I think there's still a long way to go. And Justin, to Jesse's point on racing for real money and real tangible prizes like you would do if you're a real race car driver out there in the real world, I think that's kind of the point, right? Virtual racing, but with real stakes. And you would not see guys like Vicente Salas and others, top level talent on the sim, and you would not see the other 30 drivers coming wanting to challenge the best, wanting to race against the best if this didn't mean something. And I'm consistently impressed with the turnout and the amount of competition we see in these races.
As well as I am as a result of things. It's been around for years, as we touched upon, where for many drivers, it's been a star on their schedule because of that opportunity to pick up the real world stakes and the real world prizes, to be able to come away with race victories here. And we've seen some absolutely stellar action as a result. The competition level always very high here at the ERA, but it's also been about, for many of these drivers, about being able to represent and be able to have fun and be able to see if they can make an upset. We've seen that last time we mentioned with Cody Harris being able to break through. He was around for many years, racing around in this series. He's now been able to perform to beat some of those eNASCAR professionals actually in the field here tonight. So overall, it's about being able to win and be able to get an opportunity to get to the prize pool, yes, but it's also an opportunity for many of these drivers to help elevate themselves and improve upon themselves and be able to perform against some of the best in all of iRacing.
And before we wrap this one up, Jesse, I've got two more for you. We talk about the real-world opportunities for some of the drivers on the sim, but we always want to know what you're up to. So where could we see you behind the wheel of a race car next? And then second to that, do you got anything to tease us for as we look forward to the Fall Bowl in a couple months?
Fall Bowl, that is it's classified. No,
that's fair. I tried. I'm trying for the people at home.
every time. Yeah. We always try to keep it close to the hip, as far as what track we're going to run next. Everybody typically finds out within the last 4 weeks leading up to the event, so that people don't get too much practice beforehand. Everybody has lives, jobs, family, things like that. We don't want anybody to have any unfair advantages. But for me personally, behind the wheel again, we'll find out. It's all about putting together sponsorship, putting together the right partnerships, so that I can run more races. Obviously, we have our DGM X Gym team running every single weekend in the NASCAR Xfinity Series with the 71 and the 91, and sometimes we bring out the 92 as well. I was very, very fortunate to have the opportunity to go run Talladega a few weeks ago and had a top 20 finish there, which was awesome. at the very end, some things got crazy, and we're able to stay in it and be there at the end with a clean race car. So that's all you can ask for, is to be able to go out, run a full race, finish the lead lap, and finish clean, especially at a super speedway. So for me, yeah, hopefully I can go run some more races towards the end of this year. We'll find out. Just got to put together the right partnerships and stuff to make this happen. But for now, I'm here with you guys on ERA, putting on these events and having a good time watching all these folks do really well.
We're looking forward to that next start, and we're looking forward to watching those cars you mentioned that'll have the names of the ERA members on board with them as they go racing on a weekly basis. But until we do this again, that is going to be it for us here tonight from Nashville. On behalf of our team at RaceSpotTV, everybody over at iRacing, and of course for Jesse and his entire group at the ERA, all of their hard work for making this possible, want to say a big thank you to all of them. And of course, for our team here tonight, for our producer downstairs, Hugo Luis, as always, for Jesse Uwuji, Justin Prince, and myself, Evan Pasoko, want to say thanks for tuning in, and congratulations go to a 4-time Omega Cup winner. It is Salas, victorious again, this time your race winner from Nashville. We'll catch you later for the Fall Bowl with the ERA Omega Cup. Good night.